Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome Charles Long to the studio today. Charles has just published an article in New Science Journal about memorization. It's all about how to make our memory function better. Charles, exam time is looming, and there will be lots of teenagers tuning in today. Can you give us some advice about improving our ability to memorize?
Sure. Hi. Hello. Yes, of course. I'd like to start by talking about the process of memorization. It's vital that we understand the process if we want to make adjustments to the way we function. You see, we all use memory in the same way. It doesn't matter whether you're a student reviewing for your finals or an adult standing in the aisle of a supermarket, just like how we do it, trying to recall a particular item from a grocery list.
Well, that's me, like totally me. I always forget to take my list.
Well, you and thousands of other people too, Mary. You see, we learn to use our memory when we are still in nursery school. Young children are naturally very good at working out how to remember things. So, the tips I'm going to share today are based on the things we used to help us remember when we were children. So, to start with, the process of memorization occurs in two distinct forms. Do you know what they are, Mary?
Let me think. Are they like long-term memory and short-term memory?
That's exactly right. Long term memory and short term memory. But these two aren't completely separate concepts. You see, we use a combination of both types of memory when we want to formulate our thoughts or recall information. Whether, for example, we're trying to remember something from a decade ago or perhaps just an hour earlier.
Hmm. So, what tips have you got for improving the quality of our memory,
Right.
Charles?
Well, let's start with association. Okay.
Association?
Yes, association. We can use word association to remember an idea or a concept. This means choosing a word or phrase you associate with what you are trying to remember. The word needs to be something familiar to you, something that you come into contact with on a daily basis. So, for example, you can use the name of your, I don't know, pet dog to remember a scientific equation. You could try it. You read the equation to yourself a few times and then say your dog's name at the end again and again. Later in your science exam, just recall the name of your dog and the whole equation should come back to you.
It sounds too good to be true. What else, Charles?
I understand, but another trick is visualization. So you have to visualize an image that is connected to the thing that you need to remember. For example, if you want to remember, let's say, the date that the Berlin Wall came down, you might want to visualize a picture of a wall with the date written on it, graffiti. Okay, the image of the wall becomes an important part of what you will remember. You can use several images in a row to remember things like information in a text or, say, a list of ingredients for a recipe.
Yes, right. I mean, that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Aside from that, though, singing can help with memorization too.
No singing?
Yeah, singing. So instead of, I don't know about you, Mary, but I'm not really fond of singing. But instead of reading a text out loud, you sing it. You see, singing is one of the most effective and earliest memory tricks that are used for learning new concepts. I'm not a good singer, but I used to sing lists of historical facts and dates to myself. It does work.
And you have to sing aloud in your history exams.
Well, technically not allowed to do that, but I did used to sing in my head, and always got good marks for history.
Nice. Well, any more tips, Charles?
Yes, well, I've saved the best one for last. It's particularly relevant for any students who have tuned in. You have to teach it.
Teach it? Like teach what?
Teach whatever it is that you want to remember. So if you're studying for an English exam, teach the concept to someone else. It can be a real person, maybe a friend in a study group, or it can be a pretend person like you're talking to a teddy bear or the mirror. You can't just imagine someone is listening to you as you teach. Better still, record yourself teaching and then play back the video to revise your material further.
Right. That sounds like a great tip. I might use that one or that trick.
Yes, well, it really does work because in order to teach something, you need to understand it. Teaching, you see, reinforces the understanding. And although these sound like tricks, they really aren't tricks.
They're not tricks?
Nope, they are just simple ways that we can train our brains to be more effective. By getting into the habit of using word association, visualization, singing, and teaching, our brains develop and work better for us. And of course, that has a knock on effect on our memory and our abilities to recall all kinds of data.
Oh, thank you so much for all of those information, Charles. Now, I think we got time for a couple of questions from our listeners.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Charles.